Starborn Café by Miss Yuki 1990. Chapter 16. Third Sign of Trouble.
I want every available agent out on the streets. I want every corner of this God's greenhouse searched. Find Hunter second son!
Fury delivered orders left, right, and center. Agents of all ranks scurried around him to perform their duties. He walked into the conference room on the helicarrier and found the Avengers geared up and ready.
Have you found anything?
Thor asked.
No, Fury said. For the moment, we have nothing on this location. I have a team of experts looking over the security cameras of every store in a 2-mile radius from the cafe.
Where are they? Clint asked. I have better eyes than most. I might see something they wouldn't.
They're in Lab 6.
Fury answered, receiving a nod from Clint before Hawkeye glanced at the rest of the team and left the conference room. Did the doctors find anything on the patient? Bruce asked.
No, we are waiting for her to wake up.
Fury asked. I'll go and wait with them. I know what questions to ask, Natasha offered. I'm coming with you, Bruce said, and the two left.
Stark, I've already contacted all branches of Stark Inc. in the world.
Tony cut Fury off, raising his phone.
Pepper is at HQ, ready to receive any new info.
Tony's phone rang in that moment, and he excused himself.
Good,
Fury said and nodded at Tony as he left the conference room.
Thor, any news from Asgard? Nothing!
Thor growled lowly. He looked worse for wear. He was pale and tense, and his knuckles were white from the force he was clenching his fists with.
Until Sif awakens, I'm afraid I will not be able to find out why. We will find him,
Fury promised.
Even though he is not a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., he is a valuable asset. We will find him.
Thor nodded. Is there anything Thor and I can do? Steve asked.
I'm afraid not. All we can do is stay on the lookout,
Fury said, and the two nodded. Fury frowned a little. Whether he liked it or not, Hadavan Sigurdsson found his way into the hearts of all the Avengers, and he had a feeling Thor felt more for the wizard than one could see at first glance. Fury had more than enough time to think about his actions. He didn't like it, but there was some truth in what the Avengers and Hadavan told him. Looking back, Hadavan was right from the very start. That didn't mean Fury would suddenly go around telling everyone that ever stood up to him that they were right, but it did mean that he would start changing some things, starting with how he perceived those that worked for him. Commander, please come to the bridge. We've received some information from our agents in Normandy.
I'm coming,
Fury said and nodded at Steve and Thor before he left the conference room. Once he was gone, Thor sighed heavily and took a seat, burying his face in his hands.
Thor, I should have been there.
Steve frowned at Thor's words.
If only I'd listened to my instincts and brought him to the tower.
You couldn't have known, Steve interrupted Thor. Hadavan is powerful. We thought he was safe. All we can do now is do our best to find him. You never know, maybe he already found a way out of wherever he is and is on his way back.
He isn't,
Thor said, and Steve frowned. Thor raised his head slowly and looked at Steve.
I can feel it. I could feel that he isn't well.
Steve's frown deepened and he swallowed difficultly. He took a few steps closer to Thor and placed his hand on the god's shoulder. He will be fine, Thor. We'll find him. Thor nodded, although his eyes told Steve that he doubted it. We have to.
Yes,
Thor thought.
We have to.
Hadavan moaned weakly as he woke up. His mouth was dry, his body ached, and even breathing hurt. He tried to open his eyes, but failed. His magic was raging inside him, although for the time being it stopped building up. He started taking deep breaths, trying to bring himself into a meditative state. The events that brought him to this situation slowly came back, and a curse escaped his lips. Ever so slowly, he realized that he was lying on something soft and that he was warm. With a lot of effort, he opened his eyes. Everything was blurry for a few moments, but with every blink his vision cleared. He found that he was in a room lying on a queen-sized bed. He wasn't shackled, but he doubted he would be able to move either way. His body ached too much. He slowly raised his hand and felt for that pendant. It was still there around his neck, but now it was pulsating with warmth. The more your magic builds up, the stronger the pendant will get. I would advise against trying to take it off. The shock you would get from it would probably kill you. Hadavan's head snapped to the side, and he immediately regretted it. Everything spun for a few moments, and Loki sighed. If only you stayed put in the dungeons, you wouldn't be in this petty condition. Hadavan opened his eyes slowly when he felt the bed dip under Loki's weight. Why are you doing this? he asked, not really surprised with how weak he sounded and how raspy his voice was. Loki chuckled lowly and reached over to caress Hadavin's uninjured cheek with the back of his fingers.
I told you already, Loki murmured. I want to receive what is rightfully mine.
Hadavin swallowed with difficulty and tried to take a deeper breath.
But why?
Loki frowned and Hadavin saw something blue flash over the trickster's eyes.
You would never understand,
Loki spoke after a few long moments. Hadavin shivered when a cold chill passed down his spine. Loki dragged his fingers down Hadavin's chin and neck. He parted Ven's shirt, and Hadavin felt bile gather in his throat when Loki flattened his hand on Ven's chest.
Please,
Hadavin whispered, feeling his magic building up again in a wan attempt to protect him.
Please don't. We can be great together, you know.
Loki spoke in a deeper voice, and Hadavin's breath hitched in his throat.
You are so beautiful, so powerful. If only you would turn against my brother and agree to be mine. You wouldn't have to die. They would let me keep you, I'm sure.
Hadavin swallowed and let go of a wavering breath.
They...
Loki looked into Ven's eyes, that blue sheen glowing brighter, and Hadavin felt something brush against his mind. His eyes widened when his magic burst inside him to fight off the intrusion. An electrical surge shook Hadavin's body, making him bite into his bottom lip to stop himself from screaming.
Maybe I won't even have to kill you,
Loki commented lightly, sliding his hand up to wrap it around Ven's throat.
The way your magic is building up, it's destroying you already. Loki, please,
Hadavin whispered with bleeding eyes.
Please, let me go. I won't. You won't what?
Loki whispered and slowly crawled on the bed until he was leaning over Hadavin on all fours.
Fight me? No.
Loki passed his nose down the line of Hadavin's hair and to his ear. He buried his face in Hadavin's neck and took a deep breath. Hadavin shivered and squeezed his eyes tightly shut in disgust.
Thor, someone, anyone, please help me.
Loki sighed and pushed away from Hadavin.
Such beauty,
he whispered. Hadavin's breath hitched in his throat again, and he felt like screaming when Loki caressed his thigh and squeezed with a bruising force. Ven's magic started building up again, wishing to protect him but harming him instead.
It will be a pity to kill you, Hadavin Sigurdsson, but what needs to be done, needs to be done.
Loki pushed away from Hadavin and got out of the bed. He straightened his clothes and spared Hadavin another strangely sad glance.
You just stay here. Soon enough, it will be over.
Loki turned his back on Ven and left the room. Hadavin let go of a gasp and pushed back the tears that threatened to fall. Now was not the time for tears. He had no time to feel sorry or angry with himself. He hoped Bruce Wayne was already safe somewhere, but he refused to depend on the Vigilante's help. Ven would be more than grateful if it came quickly, but he would do his best to make it easier for everyone to find him. Pushing back the pain, he tried to get off of the bed. Everything hurt, but he needed to get out of there, or at least find a way to tell someone, anyone, that he was kept there as a prisoner. The moment he tried to stand up, his legs gave out under him, and he fell on the ground with a pained scream.
Stop it!
Everything started to spin again, and he started to lose consciousness.
Stop it!
The image of Thor flashed through Ven's mind, and a single tear ran down his cheek.
Please, I'm begging you, let him be safe.
He prayed in his heart, let him be safe. And slowly everything turned black.
Any news?
Thor asked as he entered sickbay. Nothing, Bruce murmured and checked Steve's vitals. She is still sleeping.
Although,
the two men looked at Natasha when she spoke.
We weren't able to find a reason for her to still be asleep. She doesn't have the vitals of someone who's in a coma. She's completely healed, and her brain functions are surprisingly high.
Thor frowned at that, while Bruce nodded his head. Maybe she...
Bridge to sick bay, do you copy?
Fury's voice came from the speaker somewhere in the room.
We copy,
Natasha answered.
We just had one Bruce Wayne asking for permission to land,
Fury informed them, and the three exchanged confused glances. The Bruce Wayne? Bruce Wayne of the Wayne Incorporated? Batman? Bruce asked.
Yes,
Fury said.
He'll be brought to the bridge the moment he lands.
We're coming,
Natasha said.
Copy.
I'll stay here in case she wakes up, Bruce said, and Natasha and Thor nodded.
Keep the comlinks open,
Natasha said, and Bruce sighed when the two left the room, taking a seat beside the bed Sif was sleeping on. The only thing keeping Bruce calm right now was his iron control. Hulk was growling loudly in the back of his mind. He was constantly telling Bruce that something was wrong with Sif, that she smelled funny, but Bruce could do nothing until the woman woke up. Then there was Hadaved's disappearance. Bruce was out of his mind with worry, Hulk as well. He only hoped they would find Ben fast, and that the wizard that wormed his way into everyone's heart would be all right. Bruce straightened quickly when the machines started to act up. Sif's heart rate jumped, and the beeping was irritating Hulk. Bruce stood up and walked over to the bed. He could see Sif's eyes moving quickly under her eyelids, and he frowned. He was about to contact someone when Sif's eyes opened. His heart stopped when their eyes met, and he saw the blue sheen he saw only once, but he would remember it forever. Fuck! Natasha and Thor entered the bridge and found the others plus one more already there.
Natasha, Thor, I would like you to meet Mr. Wayne.
Fury introduced the newcomer.
He says he has important information for us.
The man walked over to them and shook hands with them.
I'd say it's a pleasure, but since I have nothing but bad news to share, I doubt it would be.
Bruce muttered, making everyone frown in concern. Good news? Steve asked, and Wayne nodded.
Start from the beginning,
Tony said, and Wayne cleared his throat.
5 days ago, I finally managed to pay a visit to Starborn Café.
Everyone tensed up at that.
You have seen Hadaven?
Thor asked. His voice was filled with hope, but that hope turned to dread in everyone's hearts when Wayne's eyes darkened and he bowed his head.
Yes,
he answered and swallowed before licking his lips.
The afternoon went fine. I was ready to leave when a man entered the cafe.
Wayne raised his head to look at Thor.
You know him. You know him for sure.
Why do you think that?
Natasha asked, and Wayne looked at her.
Because a little over 2 years ago, you saved the world from him.
Heavy, shocked silence settled over the gathered group.
Loki!
Thor pressed out through his teeth, fisted his right hand, and rested it over his mouth, eyes darkening in anger.
Yes.
Wayne nodded.
He attacked us foolishly. I tried to protect Hadaven, intending to take the hit for him, but Hadaven pushed me aside. I don't remember anything after that until I was woken up by Hadaven in a dungeon shackled to a wall.
Damn it! Thor roared.
Thor, calm down.
Fury tried to reason with the enraged god of thunder, but there was no reasoning with Thor now. Calm down! How can I calm down? Thor snapped at Fury.
My brother somehow escaped the dungeons of Asgard. No one ever escaped. I cannot get in contact with Mother. I have a friend in the sickbay, and now Hadaven...
He looked at Wayne sharply, and the vigilante frowned.
How did you escape? Hadaven managed to...
Wayne was cut off by the helicarrier, shaking unexpectedly. What was that? Clint asked. Sir, problems in the sick bay. The Avengers plus Wayne ran over to the screen.
On screen!
Fury ordered, and the helicarrier shook again as the screens came to life.
What in the...
They saw a wall in the sickbay explode, and Bruce met the wall, making everyone cringe.
Impossible!
Thor gasped when Sif walked out and grabbed Bruce by the front of his shirt. She raised him up and a second later looked at the camera.
She's being controlled,
Natasha snapped, noticing the thin blue film covering Sif's eyes.
Move out!
Fury ordered.
Land this flying can!
He snapped into a mic while the others rushed towards the sickbay. The helicarrier shook again, making them try hard to keep their balance.
Leave this to me!
Thor shouted.
She is much too strong for you!
You need to knock her over the head as hard as you can,
Natasha instructed, and Thor nodded. Mjolnir flew into his hand, and his clothes shifted into his armor. In the next moment, the wall in front of them exploded, making them shield themselves with their arms from frying pieces of metal.
Bruce!
Tony called out when the Gamma scientist pushed a few pieces of the wall off of himself. Later! Bruce snapped. Steve was making her way over to them with a dark smirk stretching her lips. We need Hulk! Steve shouted as Thor made his way slowly towards Steve. As you wish! Bruce pressed out through his teeth, turning his thoughts inward. Ready? Hulk grumbled in excitement. Hulk smash! You only need to knock her out! Clint called out, and Bruce nodded at him. In front of them, Bruce started to grow until Hulk took his place.
Hulk, help.
The Titan rumbled and joined Thor in the fight. Wow, Wayne muttered, staring wide-eyed at the huge green man. You can be in Bruce later! Steve grabbed Wayne's arm. Thor and Hulk will direct the fight towards the upper deck. We need to get away from here before we're caught in the crossfire. Wayne nodded and they ran away. Thor and Hulk managed to push Steve onto the upper decks. Both were trying to get a good hit, but the woman was smaller than the both of them and thus quicker. It was easier for her to avoid their attacks.
Thunder God.
Hulk rumbled when they managed to get away from the woman.
Yes, Green Man!
Thor breathed out, gaze darting around, searching for a way to win this fight before someone got hurt.
Hulk, distract woman. You hit.
Hulk grumbled, slamming his fists together, and a smirk tilted Thor's lips, although his eyes were shadowed with sadness.
Go, my friend!
Thor said, and the Hulk charged. Thor gripped Mjolnir tightly, waiting for a perfect opportunity. He hated this. How did it come to be this way? His heart filled with anger, and his eyes darkened with shadows. Loki would pay for this. Thor still didn't know how Loki ran away. He didn't know how he knew about Hadoven or why he even took him, but he would pay. He would pay dearly. No! Thor saw the perfect opportunity and took it. Sif's eyes widened when her eyes met Thor's.
I am sorry, my friend!
Thor spoke and attacked. Sif collapsed on the ground in a dead faint, and Thor stood still for a few moments, just breathing deeply. Hulk rumbled and walked over to him, his overwhelming presence making Thor look up at him and nod.
Thank you, my friend!
Hulk growled and nodded. They turned around when they heard several calls, and the rest of the Avengers stopped in front of them. Are you both all right? Steve asked.
Hulk, all right.
The Green Titan rumbled, and Thor nodded in agreement.
She'll be taken to the sick bay. It won't be long until she wakes up,
Natasha said. Fury's men are already checking the helicarrier for damage, Tony reported. Boss Man wants us in the conference room ASAP. Wayne has more info for us. Go and change, big guy, Clint said to Hulk. We'll wait for you. Hulk grunted and made his way towards Bruce's room. Let's go, Steve said, while two of agents carried Sif away on a stretcher. Thor followed the others as his eyes darkened and he fisted his hands.
Wait for me, brother. You will pay for this, that I promise you.
Would you be able to recognize the gem if you were to see it? Bruce asked, and Wayne nodded.
Yes, but I know a great deal about gems, and trust me when I tell you I have never seen anything like it, or heard about anything even similar to it. You say that the gem prevented Ren from using his magic?
Thor spoke.
Yes, if my analysis isn't wrong, I would say that the gem is keeping his powers locked within his body.
Thor cursed and started pacing.
Thor, we must stay calm. The moment Sif wakes up and gives us more information, we'll fly for Germany. We'll get them back,
Steve said.
You do not understand.
Thor stopped pacing and looked at Steve.
Hadoven's magic is dangerous for him. He is in danger, and his magic will wish to protect him. As it builds up, if there is no way for him to ease the pressure, the magic will turn on him. I have been absorbing some of his power ever since I started courting him, and I made it easier for him. But it has been close to 6 days since I had last seen him, and he has been in danger ever since then. We have no way of knowing how big the damage to his body already is.
Worried silence settled over the group of heroes.
Then we need to hurry up,
Wayne said and stood up.
I'll help you in any way I can. Hadoven risked his life to get me out of there. I must return the favor. We appreciate your help, Mr. Wayne,
Fury said, receiving a nod from Wayne. Sir, the patient is woken up. She's asking for Thor. Everyone stood up, but before they could move, Thor was already out and running towards the improvised sick bay while the original one was under repairs. He entered sick bay quicker than thought possible, and his heart skipped a beat when teary eyes of Sif landed on him. Thor! She cried out, and he walked over to her quickly, catching her as she fell into his arms and buried her face in his broad chest. I am so sorry, my lord. I couldn't fight it. I couldn't. I played and played that it would stop, but I couldn't.
It is all right, Sif. You are with us again,
Thor said and gently pushed her away. Tears were streaming down her cheeks, and she was shaking. They looked at the entrance when everyone else caught up with Thor. Is she? I am myself again, Sif interrupted Fury. I am very, very sorry for causing you trouble.
What happened?
Thor asked, and Sif squeezed her eyes tightly shut. It was awful, Thor. Our queen was trying to contact you, but all communication was cut off. We were trying to find out the reason, and then... She hugged her arms around her waist and shivered. The skies opened, Thor. Jatari were everywhere. We were ready. King Odin called to arms immediately. I was on guard duty that day. Hogan, Fondral, and Volstagg were with me. Some of the Jatari moved the dungeons. They intended to free Loki. We tried to stop them, Thor. I swear on my life and honor, we tried to stop them.
Easy, Sif,
Thor said and placed his hands on Sif's shoulder.
I believe you. What happened then?
Loki was freed. Fondral fell first, she whimpered. I do not know if he lives. I was separated from Hogan and Volstagg. I do not know how it came to be, but I found myself in front of Loki. I remember nothing after that.
He must have put you under control then,
Natasha concluded, and Steve nodded. When I woke up, it was like it wasn't me anymore. My body moved on its own. I blocked all exits and entrances to Asgard before I activated the Bifrost, and then I woke up here. You know the rest.
So what Loki said is true,
Wayne said and looked at Thor.
Asgard is under siege. I fear it is so.
Thor spoke gravely.
What I do not understand is why the Nords hadn't warned Mother about the siege.
Queen Frigga has been worried for a few days before the siege. I heard her say to King Odin that she had not heard from Lady Skald in a few days, Sif said, and Thor frowned.
That does not sound right, Thor murmured. Mother and Skald have been friends for a long time, longer than my time. The fact that she didn't warn Mother of the siege could only mean she was prevented from doing so.
But the only way for her to be prevented would be for the gateways from Asgard to the realms of the Norns to be closed, Steve said.
Is there any way to open any of those doors?
Bruce asked. Only from the inside, Steve answered.
Maybe to Asgard,
Thor murmured, and everyone looked at him. How do you mean that? Clint asked.
The Bifrost is the only way to enter Asgard from Earth,
Thor explained.
But the realm of the Norns is a different matter.
Steve perked up. Yes, the mirror of Ard! Thor nodded, while everyone else frowned in confusion. Everyone besides Fury, that is.
Are you sure?
Fury asked, and everyone looked at him.
You know about it?
Wayne asked.
Yes, it was found during World War II in Old Germany. We kept a close eye on it. Sadly, even though we'd been watchful, we lost it a little over 8 years ago. The commander of S.H.I.E.L.D. drawled, crossing his arms over his chest.
What? Thor snapped.
We don't know how it happened. Fury snapped right back. We've been looking for it ever since then, but we're unable to find it.
Heavy silence settled over the room.
I know where it is.
Thor broke the silence, attracting anyone's attention.
Are you sure?
Steve asked, and Thor looked at him.
The mirror of Erd is not just a gateway to the realm of Norns. Whoever looks into the mirror sees the true reflection of the world. Nothing can be hidden from the sight of Erd.
Nothing can be hidden?
Bruce asked and looked at Thor's eyes, and the God of Thunder nodded when realization shone in Bruce's gaze.
That would explain so much.
Bruce breathed out.
What would?
Wayne, Natasha, Clint, Steve, and Tony asked, and Bruce snorted.
Whom do we know that knows everything about anyone he's ever set eyes upon?
Bruce watched as realization shone in the eyes of the people in front of him.
Who?
Steve asked and looked at Thor.
Arnold Sigurdsson.
Fury snorted.
Figures.
Which would mean...
That would mean that the mirror is in Starborn Café.
Tony interrupted Steve.
We better back up and go. I agree,
Thor said.
If we manage to free the Nords, they will be able to help us find Ven and get to him faster. I'll have a chopper ready for you in no need.
Wayne interrupted Fury.
My plane is ready for takeoff. There's enough room for everyone.
My lord...
No, Sif.
Thor cut her off, looking into her eyes with a pleading gaze.
I want you to stay here and recover your strength.
Sif bowed her head in shame, fearing Thor trusted her no longer.
I shall need you on the battlefield in top shape.
Sif raised her head, Thor's words reaching her weary heart, and her lips parted in a wide, happy smile.
It will be an honor to fight by your side again,
she spoke in a voice bursting with pride.
Let's move out, men.
Fury snapped and everyone moved as one.
Leave the comm links open at all times. Gear up and go. We'll be on the lookout.
Yes, sir, Clint and Natasha said, and went to get their gear.
Thank you for contacting us, Mr. Wayne.
Sandman nodded shortly at Fury.
If Loki didn't mention Thor, I wouldn't have known where to go.
Wayne said and looked at Thor.
I am forever in your debt,
spoke the God of Thunder in a strained voice full of gratitude.
Don't mention it,
Wayne said.
Like I said, I'd have risked his life to get us both out of there. That gem stopped him from leaving. I should have made an effort to remove it.
You didn't know what it would do to you.
Bruce spoke up as they walked out on the upper deck and made their way toward Wayne's plane.
Bruce is right, Thor said. You said that Hanavan was physically harmed. The gem could have harmed you as well. I have no doubt that Loki would have killed you had you stayed.
Wayne nodded in understanding just as Natasha and Clint joined them and they stopped in front of the jet.
Keep the comm links open. Good luck.
Fury spoke up and everyone boarded and buckled up. Bruce joined Wayne in the cockpit and the vigilante smiled at the Gamma scientist.
I don't think we had the chance to properly introduce ourselves,
Bruce said after he buckled up at the co-pilot's seat. Bruce Banner.
Bruce Wayne.
The two shared a smile. This will get damn confusing. Tony grumbled from his seat behind Bruce, and the two Bruces chuckled. My full given name is Robert Bruce Banner, the Gamma scientist said. Robert? Steve asked. He was seated behind Wayne with Natasha behind him. Clint was seated behind Tony and Thor behind Clint. That would take some getting used to, Clint commented.
You can just call me by my surname,
Wayne said, and Bruce chuckled. Still, it will get confusing, he drawled.
That sure will,
Wayne said and chuckled again. The jet came to life and everyone relaxed in their seats.
Hold on tight, we're taking off.
Hadavan woke up slowly to the feel of something soft, cold, and wet against his forehead. He groaned as he opened his eyes, frowning at the sight of a young woman sitting to his right. What? You must stay still, she spoke in a heavily accented voice. Her eyes had that same blue sheen that Loki's did, and Hadavan's frown deepened. She removed the towel from his forehead and dipped it into the basin resting on the bedside cabinet. She squeezed the excess water out and placed it on Ven's forehead again. Despite the situation, Hadavan sighed in relief. His head was pounding and the gold towel helped somewhat. He looked at the girl again. She seemed not to be doing this voluntarily. She moved as though she was on autopilot. There was no other way to describe it. Who are you? I am Hilde, she said. Master Loki appointed me to watch over you and make sure you lack nothing. Hadavan frowned. He tried to sit up, but she stopped him by placing her hand on his shoulder. You should not move. You are not well. Please, rest. Not having the heart or the strength to fight her, Hadavan relaxed against the big fluffy pillow and took a deep breath. He felt somewhat better. His magic was still too much for him to handle normally, but at least it was calm for the moment. He closed his eyes and took a few deep breaths. His injured cheek was itching, which meant it was probably taken care of and that it started to heal. Not that he thought about it, he had no idea for how long Loki has been holding him there already. Would you mind me asking which day it is? He asked quietly. It is Monday, she said, and continued washing his heated face. Hadavan frowned, licking dry lips before he swallowed heavily. 6 days. I wonder if Bruce made it to Thor. At that thought, a pang of pain squeezed his heart. The mere thought of the god of thunder hurt. Please, Thor, hurry up, he thought. I don't know what Loki is planning, but I don't think I have much time left. Please, please hurry. Under the cover of night, the Avengers plus a vigilante made their way towards Starborn Café. They entered it quickly and silently, and everyone but Thor winced when they saw the sorry state it was in. Damn it, Tony muttered. What happened here? Obviously a fight, Clint murmured while Thor walked into the middle of the cafe. Thor, what are you doing? Natasha asked when she saw Mjolnir appear in Thor's hand.
Getting help!
Thor took a step back as he started spinning the hammer.
Take cover!
He ordered, and without another thought, everyone scattered, taking cover behind overturned armchairs. Lightning flashed, and the pressure shifted.
This better work!
Thor growled and aimed the hammer at the mirror. Everyone was forced to cover their ears and squeeze their eyes shut when thunder shook the cafe, and an explosion followed with the sound of shattering glass. A minute later, wind picked up speed inside the cafe, and everyone came out from behind their hiding places. Thor was still standing, and he was shielding his face with his left arm as a small tornado descended from where the mirror used to be. What in the 7 gates of hell is this? Bruce cried out over the rushing wind as they saw the base of the mirror and the runes spreading around from it for the first time. Stand back! Steve shouted. White light blinded them, and they shielded their eyes. A few long minutes later, everything stopped with a powerful pulse of power. They opened their eyes and looked at where the tornado had been, only to gape. Ever so slowly, the form of a naked, transparent woman appeared in front of Thor. My prince, you would not believe how happy I am to see you. She spoke in a wavering voice. She was beautiful, there was no doubt about it. Her curvaceous figure was partially obscured by long, thick, shimmering mercury strands of hair, giving her a semblance of modesty.
Lady Erd, I never thought it would be here that we would meet,
Thor said as she gifted him with a small smile full of heartbreaking sadness. I could do nothing, my lord, she whispered. The Chitauri sealed my sisters and me in our realm. I could not contact Hadavan. A few diamond-like tears escaped her mercury eyes. I could not warn him. I could only watch as your brother took him away. Thor growled.
I need you to tell me where he is.
Her bottom lip quivered.
We do not know, she whispered brokenly. Something is obscuring our sight. I am sorry, my prince, but I can be of no use to you.
Then we will have to do this the old-fashioned way,
Wayne said, and everyone looked at him.
When I got away, I ran to the closest village. I know it is in Germany, on the coast. We simply go back to that village and follow my tracks to Hardiman.
At least we have a plan, Tony muttered.
Very well.
Thor stood straighter and looked at Erd.
Lady Erd, do you know what state Asgard is in?
We kept a watchful eye on both Asgard and Midgard. Your father, King Odin, successfully resists the enemy forces. It is only a question of time until he is victorious.
My mother?
She is well, Erd said with a small smile. As are Lord Hogan, Lord Fandral, and Lord Volstagg. They are fighting like true warriors of Asgard.
Then we must do our best here.
Thor turned to look at his comrades.
Let's go! Hardiman awaits us!
Erd placed her transparent hand on Thor's shoulder.
You must hurry and bring him back quickly. His magic is harming him greatly. I fear that if you do not hurry, it will be too late.
Thor felt a shiver of fear run down his spine. He looked to his right, where he felt a hand on his other shoulder. Steve nodded at Thor with a small smile and a promise in his eyes.
We will find him in time. I promise.
Thor looked around at the rest of his teammates. They all held the same determination in their eyes.
Yes,
he spoke and stood to his full height.
We will find him.
Go now, Erd said. Go and bring him back.
Thor nodded, and they moved out almost as one. Erd's eyes shadowed the moment she was alone, and she looked around, her gaze falling on the small upturned grandfather clock. With a breath of air she appeared beside it and caressed the glass cover. The hands have stopped the day Hardiman was taken. A single tear rolled down her cheek, and she took a deep breath.
Hold on, my sweet, she whispered. They are coming for you.
Ever so slowly she started to disappear.
They are coming.